early January, two Inuit friends spotted a rarity in Tinete-Yola, a polar bear. Because of their size and ferocity, hunting polar bears usually requires a group effort. But on this day, Pele and Julius spotted the prize. Julius wanted the rifle, but it was Pele that took the shot. They killed a polar bear. Pele dropped to his knees. He was so happy. Such an event was celebrated throughout the town well into the night. The next morning, Pele was dead. He had shot himself. This is only one story of Greenland's long-standing epidemic suicide. In a country with a population of 56,000 spread out in the world's largest glacier-filled island, Greenland has been experiencing a long-standing epidemic of suicide among 20 to 24-year-olds. It is so common and pervasive that people describe it as normal. As Rosing, a regional suicide prevention coordinator, pled, "I don't think I can prevent another child from dying in Taslak. I know it will happen again." However, in order to understand the origin of this epidemic, we must first explore the history of Greenland through a dependency theory lens. Dependency theory is a situation in which the economy of a certain country is conditioned by the development and expansion of another economy, to which their own is subjected. This can lead to socio-economic vulnerabilities as seen in Greenland. Officially proclaimed a colony of Denmark in 1775, Greenland has experienced a long colonial period lasting over 200 years. During this time, missionaries were sent to many of the settlements and churches were built to convert people to Christianity. Consequently, traditional Greenlandic ways of life were dramatically altered. With a population of 90% Inuit mostly living in small settlements, the Inuits' traditional economies were based on collective fishing, hunting, as well as the trading of meat and skin. These traditions were handed down from father to son and mother to daughter. But Denmark wanted to capitalize on Greenland's natural resources and ultimately created a monothelic fishing industry. Fleets of fishing vessels and trading companies came in. Harbors in larger towns were constructed, and the Greenlandic people were displaced to this town to consolidate the labor force. To facilitate this migration into towns, Greenland erected tenements, praising its luxurious modernism of plumbing, heating, power, and paved sidewalk. But for under, a resident of one of the tenements stated, "Living in the apartment did not feel luxurious to us, it only felt foreign." In addition, negative socioeconomic impacts were felt in small villages from the egress of people. This resulted in the closure of stores, the shutting down of electricity, and the relocation of priests. To Denmark, it was a logical step to consolidate resources to the newly growing towns, but to the people, it was erasing of a culture. Conversely, as people entered the towns, the new workforce and schools, discrimination towards village people was apparent. As Anders described, you could feel it in their words, in the way they looked at you. They mocked us. It was expected for one to learn Danish, and it was the superior language. Combined, the impact was immense. The loss of identity, traditional ways, and feelings of isolation contributed to an increase in alcoholism, depression, sexual abuse, poor family relationship, and suicide. Between 1970 and 1980, suicide rates quadrupled. Compared with Denmark, Greenland's suicide rate is 37 times higher. According to Julia's father, to be a parent in this case, you feel very powerless, helpless. And at that time, there was no health resources allocated to deal with this phenomenon. But in 1989, Anders Paulsen invited Asta Smith, a local community member, to join a support group for mothers affected by suicide. 1 year later, they established Greenland's first suicide hotline. Asta manned this hotline for 18 years. They didn't have the resources to hire professional counselors, but they had another abundant resource: mothers willing to listen. It was very clear that the people needed help, and not just parents, people who were thinking about suicide too. The psychiatrists that were available only spoke Danish, so counseling had a language barrier for the Greenlandic people who spoke their native language, Kalaallisut. Barriers still exist in providing equitable care to Greenlanders. Lack of roads, harsh climate, and the sheer expansive distribution of settlements prevent cost-effective services to these regions. Healthcare funding is an issue, with only 8.7% of GDP spent on healthcare, compared to Denmark's 10.6%. But after the Home Rule Act of 1979 and Self-Government Act of 2009 was enacted, Greenland was able to establish its own government, allowing for more autonomy. Greenland has 4 ministries responsible for health and welfare, largely funded by a block grant provided by Denmark. Each ministry has different programs to address issues in a preventative measure. Most of the programming is aimed at children under 18 and mainly available in towns, not the settlements. Despite these preventative measures, Greenland still has no programming for suicide prevention among Although Greenland is a young country that is struggling with basic health issues, they are still trying to reach far communities using telemedicine. Greenlandic citizens are positive towards telemedicine and hopeful that it can create greater access to care. I think the future will get better and better for them. 20 years, if we do everything we can, it will be 20 years. That long to get the suicide problem in Greenland under control.